Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. The calendar has turned to June. We're still 3 months or so away from the start of college football, but the world of college athletics is always buzzing. There is always something going on, and right now it is a new bill in the Senate that may, quote-unquote, protect college sports by putting some stuff into federal law that I think a lot of fans want to see, that may stabilize college sports a little bit. I'm not a legal expert. We're not going to sit here and dive into the bill today, but what I'm going to do is look at this from a Purdue perspective and determine what matters the most. If you're a Purdue fan, what parts of this are the most important? What parts of this aren't as important? And really dive into the changes that folks are proposing in college sports from a Purdue perspective. If you don't, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. We'll be talking Purdue sports, college sports all summer long. Be sure, if you've got any questions, anything you want me to talk about on the show, message me there on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. You can also email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because we'll be coming at you every week, thereabouts, for the rest of the summer, leading into football season to talk all things Purdue sports. I did want to start today, though, with a quick thought on the athletic director search. If you haven't listened yet, I did a bit of an instant reaction podcast, what was that, Wednesday or Thursday last week, when the news broke that Mike Babinski will be retiring on December 31st of this year, 2026. Purdue is on the hunt for a new athletic director at the same time that it is on the hunt for a new president, which complicates things a little bit. But I do think this is going to be a pretty attractive job. The unknown at the president spot is going to make this interesting, though. Most people want to know who they are going to be working for or what that is going to look like. And right now, Purdue doesn't have that. Mitch Daniels is the interim president. Who knows how long that is planning to happen internally? Is Purdue looking at that as a year thing, as a 6-month thing, is longer than that? I don't know. It probably depends how fast you can hire a university president, but I don't think those hires happen overnight. I'm not an expert on the academia side of that, but those hires seem to be a little bit longer of runways on the search process than an athletic director hire. My hunch here is that Purdue will not have a president hire by the time Mike Babinski officially retires, by the new year. Even if they do, I don't think he or she will have been in place yet. So you're looking at some combination of Mitch Daniels, the board of trustees, maybe Mike Berghoff gets involved a little bit on the hiring of this. Is an interim athletic director a possibility? I don't know. Given the rapid change of everything in college sports right now, I don't know that it's ideal. We'll see what happens in football. Barry Odom has plenty of runway here. Purdue could go 0-12 this year, and I don't think Purdue is dumping Barry Odom. I would be shocked if that happened. I don't think that will happen, mind you. I don't think Purdue will go 1-11, 0-12. I think Purdue's going to win more games than that, but I think you need someone to get in there and really start solidifying things a little bit, to work on getting the football program on sturdier footing, work on figuring things out from a financial perspective on how you can compensate athletes at a competitive level. But at the end of the day, this is a Power 2 athletic director job, and it is a 2-conference world right now. And if you take the Purdue job, you have Big Ten resources. That's a huge differentiator. That is something that no matter what you look at the ACC or Big 12, or certainly the Group of 5 leagues, you will never have that. Now, it's somewhere like a Notre Dame's its own ballpark. Purdue's not getting Pete Pavakla, but at a Miami, a Clemson, a Florida State, Texas Tech. Can you overcome some of that with some big donor support? Of course. But at most of those schools, you can't. You are looking at a dramatically better financial position and a lot more money to work with at Purdue than you are anywhere else. Basketball is in really good shape. It's very low maintenance. I don't want to say it runs itself, but Matt Painter knows exactly what he wants that program to look like. That helps a ton. I personally think it's a positive for Purdue that there aren't really any legacy non-revenue sports that need to be funded at a super high level. I know women's basketball's had some success in the past, but right now, and this is going to sound blunt, and it is blunt, there are only two sports that really matter. This is for the time being, this is an every dollar matters exceptionally much world, and football and men's basketball are where every spare dollar goes. You're not at Purdue, you don't have to overfund a legacy sport that's a non-revenue sport because it's been so historically successful. I think that's a positive for Purdue. It is a two-priority deal, football and finances. That's what matters for the next athletic director. I think that makes it attractive, and for me, I think that is where Purdue has to look for its next athletic director, is someone with a background in football, whether that be that they spent some time at a strong football school, or maybe they were an administrator overseeing football. I don't know a ton about the nitty-gritty of all of this, but those seem like the areas where I would prioritize, as someone who maybe they were at Ohio State. I'm just picking that out of a hat, Alabama, whatever. And that they've been an administrator overseeing that, maybe anywhere, that they've seen football, they know football well. That I think is really, really important for Purdue right now. But anyways, enough of that for today. We'll be here all fall, all summer long, talking about anything athletic director search as it comes up. Any questions, obviously, send them my way. We had a pretty good episode, I thought, talking about Mike Babinski's complicated legacy last week. Some more good than gets recognized, but certainly some ups and downs there. But, the question right now across college sports is, what should Purdue want here? The Congress, can Congress save college sports? Can a bill get through the Senate, then get through the House? It's a very obvious I don't know right now. There's some reason to be optimistic. I think there are a lot of folks in every party, both politically and every interested party here, from athletes to administrators to schools, that wants to see something get done. But from a Purdue perspective, what should Purdue want? Because I don't know that the interests of the Big Ten are always the same as the interests of Purdue. I don't know that the interests of the not so powerful schools are always the same as the interests of Purdue. But if you're Purdue right now, I think the number one thing that you would love to see is some type of salary cap or overall spending limit on all sports combined. You can prioritize this however you want, but at some point there has to be some type of overall limit. And this is going to be the hardest part, right? Because this isn't collectively bargained. You are asking Congress for an antitrust exemption on this, and that is a mouthful. There's a lot that goes into that. But if you're a Purdue fan, this is huge. It's impossible to confirm the rumored roster totals out there right now, but it's pretty well documented that there are $40 million football rosters out there. There are $20 million plus basketball rosters out there. None of that lines up to a game that Purdue will be competing in easily. This is going to be a big topic for the next athletic director. It's the most common criticism of Mike Babinski's tenure. As I said on the last episode, I think the truth always lies somewhere in the middle of every debate, and especially this one. Is this entirely something that the athletic department staff mangled? I don't think so. The problem with the initial surge of NIL back in 2022, 2023 was it was these collectives and these mega donors who just wanted to throw cash at players. I don't think that jives well with Purdue's culture. Purdue has an awesome fan base. Purdue has a phenomenal alumni base. It's massive. It's coast to coast. It is very loyal. It's very supportive. Look at what Ross-Ade Stadium has been like the last couple of years. There have not been many empty seats for a terrible product. But I don't think it is a fan base that collectively wants to win at all costs, to throw tons of money out of their own pocket to buy better players. I don't know. I've never gotten that vibe. Now, the revenue of the athletic department went up like crazy under Mike Babinski. The John Purdue Club grew big. That's not nothing. But I don't think it is a fan base that took the NIL surge super well. And I don't think it's entirely on the fan base and the donor base for not ponying up right away either. There was not some massive coordinated push from the athletic department to fund athlete compensation avenues. Sure, if you sat at Mackey Arena, you'd see a Boilermaker Alliance commercial on the video board during a timeout, but that was it. Maybe there were a press release or two for Mike Babinski, but it wasn't big. It wasn't something like you've seen at Ole Miss where, all capital improvement campaigns were paused and it was very encouraged to fund NIL instead. That's not what you've seen. The Boiler Alliance never really seemed to take off, at least from an outside view. And now that it's a revenue sharing world, I think Purdue's in a good spot there, but there's clearly more that needs to be done because the revenue sharing caps from the House settlement are being blatantly ignored. Part of the problem here is that the schools that said they wanted a cap aren't following it at all. And that's a whole nother can of worms we can get into. But, what does a salary cap look like? It's got to be a pretty sizable number. You're not looking at a salary cap of $20 million for an athletic department. No way. You're looking at something substantially higher than that probably. But if you know what a maximum amount looks like, then you can find a way to get there. You can piece together, move money around, find ways to get there or get close to it. Because the problem right now is that these numbers skyrocket astronomically year over year. We sat here back in 2022 and were mind blown that Nigel Pack was getting $400,000 a year from Miami to play basketball there. Just mind blown. And it was a massive story. How many stories back then? If you Googled Life Wallet back in the summer of 2022, it was everywhere. It was the story. $400,000 is nothing now. I'd love to know how many Big Ten basketball players are making more than $400,000 right now. Every school has them. Every school does. Milan Momcilovic, the guy from Iowa State, great shooter, withdrew from the NBA draft. He's reportedly getting $7 million from Kentucky, and he's not a top 10 player in America, or even close to that. 2 football seasons ago, Ohio State won a national title, and the general thinking was, my God, they've reportedly got a $20 million roster. How could they not win the whole thing? Now, you're hearing about all these $40 million rosters in the Big Ten, the SEC, and Texas Tech. Maybe Miami too. They're everywhere. That type of inflation is really hard to work with when you're not just oozing money from mysterious sources to throw at your roster. Number one for Purdue, if you can get some type of upper limit hard cap, that is fantastic, even if it's a lot higher than you're really prepared for right now. We've heard a lot the last week or so about Super League protection, and I don't exactly know what to make of that because there are so many different ways a Super League in college sports can go. It seems like an existential threat to programs like Purdue. I don't know if it is or isn't, because if it looks like maybe what Pete Bavacqua discussed in the Senate meeting, and I thought he was excellent. Not a Notre Dame guy at all here, but he was really good. And he's a former TV exec. He ran NBC Sports, and he discussed how it would look like a 24-30 team split off where Notre Dame is playing Penn State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama every week. Yeah, I mean, if that happens, that's awful for Purdue. And that would be the top brands in the Big Ten, the top brands of the SEC, splitting away, joining forces with Notre Dame, maybe Miami, Florida State, couple others, and taking their ball and playing on their own field. Yeah, that would be awful. Do the Big Ten and the SEC break away together? You've heard Ted Cruz talk about how that would be an antitrust issue. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, great, Purdue's in it. Probably not the most competitive thing. Or is it something where the Power Four conferences kind of break away? Because it's not formally there right now, but it kind of is, right? The non-power conferences pale in comparison to the power conferences when it comes to money. And it's always been laughable. I think it was in the 70s when Division I grew like crazy. It's always been laughable that in theory, the Fighting Eagles up at Eastern Michigan in Ypsilanti and all of the resources that athletic department has is expected to compete for the same national championship in football and basketball that its counterpart just down the road, the University of Michigan, is. That's not realistic. There's a reason you have never seen a MAC team come close to winning anything. You're playing the same game, but you're not at all. It's unbelievable in basketball that at the start of the year, Chicago State and Stonehill are going to try to win the same championship that Duke and Kentucky are. That's just crazy. Division I is too big. I will grant you that. So if you see the top brands break off, okay. If it's a 60 to 80 team thing, if you're Purdue, I think you can live with that. But whatever happens, and whether a hypothetical Super League looks like, whether one forms or not, Purdue would like to be on the right side of that. It's a gigantic university that matters. It's a strong university academically that matters because it has an alumni base that has money. That's important in all of this, is it's about growing interest and growing viewership. There is coast-to-coast interest in Purdue. You have Purdue on the East Coast. You have Purdue on the West Coast. Just look at what you've seen the last couple of basketball seasons when Purdue went to the Pacific Northwest and then when Purdue went to the LA schools last year. But it's a football world, and Purdue has to improve as a competitive entity in football to make this all happen. There's talk of a one-time transfer rule. I don't know. Obviously, this all stems around an antitrust exemption because college football tried a one-time transfer rule already. It got shot down in court real fast. I think it's important. It's not as important as the first 2 points. From a football perspective, I think it would be great for Purdue. It would help reprioritize high school recruiting. I just don't know that you're ever going to build a portal power at Purdue. It doesn't seem to jive with Purdue's culture well, just as a school. I don't know that West Lafayette is oozing with the appeal that you're going to have out of the portal. It's not the sexiest place, but when you can build a culture, that really helps. The Ryan Walters hire was disastrous. There's no getting past that. But the lack of roster continuity has hampered Purdue terribly in recent years. And even if it's forced by a one-time transfer rule, being able to retain roster talent would be a huge plus for Purdue. Just look at all the talent that Purdue has lost in the portal over the last few years. You're not going to be able to eliminate all of that, but to eliminate some of it, that would be a big deal. On the basketball side of that, I think it would be glorious because Purdue has been a program defined by continuity and culture. And if you take away other programs' ability to pick up guys who have just transferred every year, transferred up, and you have to make them think a little more, I don't know that schools are going to outplan Purdue particularly well. Purdue wouldn't have to change a single thing, and that would be really nice. It would really help solidify Purdue's competitive advantage. There's talk of a 5-5 rule, 5 years to play 5 seasons of college sports. I think that's great. Again, Purdue hasn't really flirted with the boundaries of that a whole lot, so yeah, I mean you'll take that absolutely. And there are rules about international professionals coming over, and look, Purdue's benefited from that, right? You've got Omer Meyer on the roster. You have Enzo Sharvin in the works to come over and be the last piece for this year's team, but I think Purdue is prepared as anyone to pivot away from that. So it's a really interesting time across college sports right now. The 2030 deadline is coming up. We're a few years away now from the TV contracts being renegotiated. The Big Ten and the SEC will be in a battle to see who can get the richest TV contract. The Big Ten is not delivered what it wanted to through the first 2 years of this TV contract so far. We'll see if that can change. I certainly can, but it's going to be very interesting to see where all of this goes. But I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Be here pretty much every week all summer, talking Purdue sports. Follow on Twitter @BoilersBeyond and send me questions. Do it there on Twitter @BoilersBeyond. Email boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. Until next time, guys, stay cool out there and take care. Thanks for listening today. If you're a fan of the podcast, you know that I'm all about game planning, and your insurance shouldn't be any different. That's where I come in. I'm Jordan Jones. When I'm not talking about Purdue sports, I'm helping people around Indiana get better coverage with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Most people are either overpaying or undercovered on their insurance program, and a lot of times it's both. I'll take a look at what you've got, walk you through it in plain English, help you find something that actually fits your life, be it home, auto, business, life insurance, whatever. No pressure, just a quick, free quote, some honest advice. We'll talk Purdue sports. Hopefully, we can save you some money, get you some better coverage. If your policy's up for renewal, or if you just haven't looked in a while, give me a call, 317-846-5861, or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com.